I have some matters to look after. He returned to me. I removed my helmet.
I thought you had completed your mission, but you're still running around here with the same little critter.
Sorry about that. He's young.
You heard it up top. We pause our trek through the stars and go for a different route because we're talking wars this time. That's right. We return to the galaxy, a far, far away, a time, a long, long time ago, because we're talking The Mandalorian, Season 3, here on Normies Like Us with your hosts, Grand Magistrate Colin.
No, I'll just be the Mike DeLorean.
And this is Din Jakin.
Oh,
Nice.
Hello, Normies.
I'll be
That-
Normie
that-
88 somewhere
wait
here
a minute. Not baby Jake Ogu?
too.
Yeah,
Joku?
baby Jake Ogu.
yeah. Now eating snacks and spinning a chair. He just loves spinning
That's
a
right.
chair.
That's right.
But yeah, we're talking season premiere. Episode 1. Mandalorian season 3 just got fired up. So returning to the wars after doing some trekking, and we done did it. We're back. We got everyone's favorite TV dad taking care of a child. There's another show with
That's
him
right.
doing that
Well,
concurrently,
yeah.
which
Look,
we'll talk about that
well,
soon too.
With literally this guy, yes, we will. Now, look, Mike, we only pause Star Trek episodes to talk Disney-owned properties. We will talk Marvel things, and we will, of course, talk Lucasfilms.
And Willow.
That's
right.
Which is Disney.
Which is
You're
yeah.
so
that's
right.
what I
It's
mean.
So it's correct.
Lucasfilms, yeah.
We talked about Creed and we said, "Puh, the puh. It's
Yes,
not owned by Disney."
That's right.
Get that out
I
of
do
here.
want to see Creed,
Get out.
but haven't had
But that's
a
a
chance
story
yet.
for another time.
Not worth it.
Yeah.
But do you think this is we are at peak Pedro Pascal right now with The Last of Us and
Amazing question.
Mando on at the same time?
I would say we're nearing peak saturation. We also have a famous meme
we could
video
always take
format
more.
of him riding in a car. So he's also now all over our meme
car?
formats.
I don't know if
He
I've seen that
did
one.
the Nick
Yeah.
Cage one. Look, he
The
did
Nick
the
Cage
Nick
one, yeah.
Cage movie.
Oh, right.
He did SNL. He was in on the daddy joke, and now he's doing interviews for Mando where he's like, I don't want to be called daddy.
I think I'm
anymore."
out on it
I
now.
think
People are being weird.
that's
People are being
people
weird.
are
to
being
him.
weird, but I think that's him acknowledging even I'm saying we're at peak me. Let's relax. So,
I can
don't
always,
was
know.
I can always
fun.
take more.
Yeah,
in my
oh
opinion.
boy.
You can never have too much. Pedro
Two
Pascal.
handfuls.
A big
maybe, yeah,
segment
let
of
me
the
get 'em.
internet agrees you could never have too much
Yeah.
Pedro Pascal. But
I think
it
he's
is
probably
cool.
the like
Mhm.
the celebrity with like the highest approval rating just overall right now. If you polled everybody, like nobody dislikes Pedro Pascal.
Early candidate
His
for
father-
sexiest man alive, maybe.
That's
Maybe
right.
his father was like a doctor who murdered people. I'm
Oh,
not
no.
positive about that story. That's maybe the
I don't know
one
if that's
bad
true.
thing he's tied to. That allegedly. Let me say
Oh.
that 6 times to cover myself.
Well, allegedly, but these shows he's on are about trying to at least not repeat mistakes from the past, maybe. So, hey, who knows? But, we do love having him on our screens right now. We're not tired of him, that's for sure. But Star Wars is a property where it's been a little up and down, so we'll be diving in to see where we're at. I guess that's a good thing temperature-wise. Before this came out, like, where were you at in the Star Wars, because we were getting Marvel fatigue, but were either of you having,
Yeah.
Star Wars fatigue, anything like that, Colin?
Hey, I'm yes, thank you, Mike, for throwing to me. I was going to say, let me kick it off by saying, look, I've told you guys this. We've talked about this. I've been on another podcast and talked about this. Shout out to the Cargo Bay. Guys, I didn't watch Andor because I got super burned out after Boba Fett, and I kind of still haven't come around. The only thing bringing me back here is I'm like, oh, it's my guy and my baby. I know these people. And
Sure.
even that, it's like, Star Wars, will you have me for much longer? Who knows? So,
Yeah.
how
Well,
about you guys?
I mean, I was experiencing burnout around the same time, Boba Fett and the Obi-Wan show. But then Andor did come out and I was like, okay, this is great. And it was very refreshing. And I was like, all right, I'm back on board. And then, but that's something I'll probably be bringing up a lot because now jumping back into the Mandalorian, it's like, more of this because I knew it wasn't going to be, as good as Andor, but it's just such a big step down for me that I'm like, I can't go back to this shit, man.
Hey,
I don't know.
real quick before we let Mike answer, peek more of this. I'm just now remembering and realizing I didn't finish Obi-Wan, but wasn't that show the plot of a guy and a little kid on an adventure?
Uh-huh.
Are we truly at the peak of that story?
Another escort mission,
That's
yeah.
that seems to be the big thing now, just in media in general. I mean, you got Adam Driver and a kid fighting dinosaurs coming out next
hell
week or
yeah.
something.
Yeah, the God of
So-
War sequel.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
fatherhood
It's
is
Lone Wolf
real
and
big
Wolf.
right now.
Lone Wolf and Cub is the trend for everything.
That's
now.
the genre.
Yeah.
You're 100% correct with that.
And if you get Pedro Pascal as the father figure, even better.
Yeah, and if you scale certain characters' ages for Picard season 3, they would probably be a Lone Wolf and Cub scenario somewhere in there. Not to get
Sure.
into it, no spoilers, bigly, but turned 30 years back. For me, I did watch Andor, and Colin, you still haven't seen it at all, correct?
No, not at all.
Okay. So I was kind of burned out. I was bummed out by Obi-Wan because he's my favorite character, and I feel like it's just kind of so-so. Good moments, but a lot of it's whatever. So yeah, I was burnt out, and then Andor. I don't care about that guy, and I was pleasantly surprised. And I still advocate watching that, Colin. But maybe we'll see how you feel about this episode in this series when we jump into it. But I advocate for Andor. But I was burnt out, and then coming back to this, we'll discuss it in depth. But it's a different kind of animal. Coming back to it, and again with a competing show with Pedro and another child that he's protecting, it's even harder to kind of come into this objectively. You know what I mean? There's too much to compare it to, I think, with Andor and The Last of Us, which we'll be talking about soon, as that's going to wrap up this coming weekend.
Sure.
So objectivity is hard to come by, and having grown up with Star Wars our whole lives and all this new media, we're settling into maybe where we're going to be at as far as we're seeing a formula, perhaps, who knows? But that's what I'm thinking. I think we're starting to see the cracks like we were with Marvel.
It's kind of wild because you think we would be like super psyched for some more Mandalorian, because actually the Mandalorian season 2 was in like 2020. So it's been like 3 years. I mean, yeah, he came back in the Boba Fett show, which basically became Mandalorian 2.5, but it's still been like several years since the actual Mandalorian season. But at the same time, I was psyched when I started watching, and then I started watching, and I'm like, and I was just kind of like...
I was unaware that it was even coming out. Like the hype didn't seem palpable. Maybe that was us. Viewers let us know, but it seemed like even the internet wasn't like, oh my God, next week.
It wasn't really advertised that heavily.
I felt completely out of touch. And Jacob, going to what you just said about like, it's been a few years since that first season. It's been a few years since conversations started that were like, yo, Star Wars was almost dead, but this show, Mandalorian, just saved it. It brought Star Wars back. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, it kind of shepherded in the TV era of Star Wars, because there actually hasn't been another Star Wars movie since season 1 of The Mandalorian, which is crazy to think about too. Like, it's
that's crazy.
been all TV.
Oh my God.
Just Rise of Skywalker, and that's a big pause.
That was the last one. Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
Since then we've had Boba Fett, we've had, of course, Obi-Wan, we've had 3 seasons of Mando, we've had Andor, we've got The Acolyte on the way, we've got maybe a spin-off movie.
We had Visions,
we had Children one. Yes, we had a bunch of weird animated adaptations that were sort of inserted.
Bad Batch.
Tales of the Jedi.
Yeah, which some of those were fun, but no big Star Wars. And for a while, it appeared like there was nothing bigger than the Mandalorian as a character. Like, he's kind of surpassed Boba Fett in some ways as, the cool, badass bounty hunter. So it's weird that there wasn't a ton of buzz for this. So maybe we should just jump, right into it. We'll get into the premiere. We'll catch you up to speed with where Mandalorian's been coming into this season as we discuss the season premiere, season 3, Mandalorian, on Normies Like Us.
We're back. You're on Normies Like Us, where we're talking Mando season 3 here on Disney Plus. It's returned. We're talking about it. But before we get there, season 3, where are we at? How did we get here?
Yeah. As Jacob mentioned up top, the Boba Fett series had 2 episodes. It was basically Mandalorian 2.5. But prior to that, 2020.
Mike, my favorite Kingdom Hearts game, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Mandalorian 2.5, Boba Fett, the book of / Rogue Squadron canceled.
Recoded.
Yes,
Rebuild.
recoded.
Yeah.
24/635. So before that, before the Boba Fett cameo / Boba Fett takeover, as some people were referring to it, we had season 2 of The Mandalorian, and the kind of the main crux of this is Moff Gideon. He's trying to get Grogu to the Jedi. He meets Ahsoka. She's like, I can't do it. I don't know what I'm doing. He eventually confronts Gideon, the Dark Troopers, all that. And we get the big Luke Skywalker, the Darksaber fight, obviously. But the Luke Skywalker cameo is the big deal. We get CG Luke, and he saves and he takes Grogu with him to the Jedi camp. And that's the end of season 2. Then Mando 2.5, we get Mandalorian helping Boba Fett take over the town from Rancors and giant battle droids and all that great stuff. The speeder bike squad was there, spinning around, shooting their lasers. We loved it. And
all
then,
that great stuff.
Yeah, he goes and right. It's a traumatic memory. We blocked. I've used the Force to lock it away. And then he goes to check on Grogu at the Yoda or Luke's Jedi temple that he's building with a bunch of robots. And then Luke gives Grogu a choice. It says, "Hey, do you want to be a Jedi? Or do you want to be a Mandalorian? You want to go back with Papa?" And Grogu chooses Papa, and then they're reunited. And now we have season 3, the continued adventures of Grogu and
the status quo.
Din Djarin. The status quo maintained. How do you feel about the status quo? I guess Jacob, you go first. This is a big criticism people are having with the direction here.
I mean, it doesn't make sense for Grogu to go back with Din Djarin or continue training to be a Jedi. I don't know, but we need baby Grogu back in our show, so I guess we're back at it.
Yeah, back at it again. Colin, how do you feel about back at it again?
Well, one, just real quick to what you said about the choice he's given to be a Jedi or go back to Papa. I just want to remind everyone it's to choose a tiny bauble or what he calls the lightsaber of a Jedi master once known as Yoda. And you're like, oh my God, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Your great uncle Yoda.
Or something. Your
father
egg layer or something.
They're
Here's
asexual.
how I feel about the status quo, right? It's like, I don't know. What do you expect? It's like there's a character in this episode who's constantly like, well, I don't understand why you don't just retire and live here. And like Mando's response to him is essentially like, well, don't you understand I'm on a show called The Mandalorian? Like I have adventures to go on.
I need to keep doing adventures.
You got to go do stuff.
Well, I guess the big thing of this season is the Mandalorian story. He's been exiled from his Mando tribe or cult, you might say.
He's an apostate.
He literally calls himself an apostate, which is, of course, a follower of a religion who has renounced it. In this case, it is certainly against his will in that he's trying to get re-indoctrinated, basically.
Yeah. For taking his helmet off. Now he has to go on this quest in order to rejoin the group.
He has to bathe in the waters beneath the mines on Mandalore or whatever. It's essentially a religious pilgrimage, right? But the problem is
100%.
the planet might have been glassed. So he's like, maybe there's a chance it's not even out there. So it could be useless, but he's going to go for it. Yeah. But the pilgrimage is the thing. If I could speak a little bit on the status quo, knowing what I know from having watched all the Clone Wars shows, and if anybody listening has, there's a lot to do with kind of the rule of Mandalore. At one point, Darth Maul takes over Mandalore, and Bo-Katan is kicked out, and there's a whole bunch going on there, and some of it's pretty dark. So you could see a world where you have this darker Mandalore-focused season without Grogu, right? Where it's just literally the politics and this kind of grittier stuff. But he's like, Grogu's the hottest commodity, so you realistically cannot do it without him.
We need our guy.
We need our little guy.
Weird and do cute stuff.
He could drop him off with a babysitter for a couple episodes, but you have to do it.
Look, you say, where does he fit into the narrative? One, in the terms of the story, of course, they are part of a tribe, quote unquote. I'm the armorer. I've made like a little thing that he wears that has like a little matching thing to yours that means something in our weirdo religion. And it's like, yeah, of course. But other than that, Mike, just the constraints of the show, when you're watching, Lone Wolf and Cub, Baby Cart Goes to Hell, one of those like ridiculous like 7th movies of Lone Wolf and Cub, you don't go
Mhm.
like, oh, the Cub's still in this. Like that's just so ridiculous. This should just be a Lone Wolf adventure. Like the conceit of the show is it's Lone Wolf and Cub. I don't
Right.
know what to tell you guys.
Otherwise, you just have Lone Wolf. Yeah,
And
so
you've
I
got the
get it.
perfect cub with Grogu because he doesn't age. He's just like
It
a
takes him
baby.
forever.
He's going to
Magic
be a baby for the
baby.
next 50 years or whatever.
You don't have the Ash Ketchum
Yes.
problem of a 20-year-old, 10-year-old, right?
Yeah.
It's boom. But and I get it, and it's with a character that has his helmet on the whole time, like as a directive. It's interesting that most emotive part of the duo is a puppet. You know, the person the audience can connect to is a puppet, but that's the only person we
Sure.
have emoting. You know, and I
Yeah.
do consider Grogu a person. Don't you dare take that away from me.
An actor.
Yeah.
You're asking for credits, Mike.
I mean, if Yoda
Right.
is a person, then yeah. I guess
Yeah,
they're
of
Yoda
course.
is a person, by the way.
Yes.
They have seats on the Senate.
course.
It's fine. But yeah, so you have to have something for the audience to connect to, a little bit of levity. Everybody loves Grogu, obviously. So I mean,
Yeah. I
you're
mean,
not going to not have him.
Yeah.
my problem is not Grogu because I don't mind having Grogu. I guess my problem with the season so far is that this whole Mandalorian plot to me is not really the most interesting. Like I
No.
know there's a lot of Mandalorian lore and Clone Wars and stuff, and that's fine, but him just going on this quest and this being kind of the focus of the season, I don't
Yes.
know, it's not hooking me so far.
Here's the other
Yeah.
thing, Jacob. That's a perfectly valid complaint. And I would certainly never defend anybody who felt a bait and switch emotionally of, well, your season finale was him giving up this character and it seemed like a really hard choice. And then I had to watch 2 episodes of another TV show to get the
Right.
resolution of that. That's ridiculous. That's all ridiculous. And I
Yeah.
agree with you. Mandalorian exploration of his religion is something a lot of other Star Wars ancillary material has been like, isn't this the most interesting thing? And I think it's got a lot of very passionate people. But then I think when you look at it, it's like, boy, I really don't know how sustaining this is in the long term for anything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Well, with season 2 ends with Grogu going off with Luke Skywalker. And then if you didn't watch Boba Fett, a different show, they didn't
Right.
even recap it in this like at the beginning of this episode.
didn't
They
even
didn't
try to.
explain why Grogu is just suddenly back. So if you didn't watch Boba Fett, you would probably be pretty confused right now.
Right. And one thing that's funny, they don't show like recap, all right, you're joining me again, Grogu, but they do show the armorer saying you've taken off your helmet, you're out. And then in
Yeah.
the episode, they do that scene again. So they show the recap, you're out, and then he goes over and visits them and they're like, you
Right.
took off your helmet, you're out of here. It's like,
He comes back and saves them.
They
from,
do the
like,
same
a
thing
giant
I
twice.
understand
monster.
that part.
yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
come
And then
on.
they're
but they
still
didn't-
like, you can't come back, even though
like
you
we
just
knew
saved
that
our
from
lives.
Boba Fett. Right.
You're
Yeah.
out.
So-
You wouldn't drink the Kool-Aid, and you know that's not cool here. It's like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah, so they'll recap one thing from Boba Fett in the episode proper, but not the thing that explains why Grogu is here. Right. So it would be jarring, jarring if you only watch
no.
season 2 and then this. Full
Din-jarring.
spoilers, by the way, on episode
No,
season premiere.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And we're going to jump into it, but it's fascinating that there isn't a holiday special era like telephone call mic of like the Mark Hamill CGI robot being like, remember, Dinjarin, now that you're taking care of Grogu because he made the choice to stay with you, you could see that happening in early Star Wars stuff.
Sure.
Yeah. Especially this era, there's more Force ghosties happening,
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
ways to do that, voices. But the hook is, like Jacob said, the hook is it's not landing for me. Because it feels
Yes.
already like it's becoming a side quest. Because he gets to Navarro. We see that Navarro has been transformed. We get what's Carl Weathers' title now? Karga.
Grand
He's-
Magistrate,
Grand
baby.
Magistrate.
He's not just the
Grand
magistrate,
Magistrate.
Mike. He's the Grand Magistrate.
Absolutely. So, he's giving Din the option you can stay here or not. We see a statue of IG-11 who saved everyone with self-destruct and stuff. But like the side quest before the quest is, I need to go to Mandalore, but I need a robot.
Yeah.
But I need a part for the robot. So we've already gone off of the critical
100%.
path in the first episode, right?
This was exactly what you're saying was my complaint as well, because the writing on this show to me has always felt like it's written like a video game. And
Mhm.
this episode in particular was like very video game where it's like he
Hub
needs to go on
world.
this quest. Before he can start the quest, he's got to get his droid. But oh no, the droid needs this fucking memory thing. So now he's got to go on a side quest to get the thing. And it's just like, You know,
Oh man.
Why
I don't
does he
know.
need to rebuild a robot that literally was obliterated to a zillion pieces, I would imagine? What does he
Yeah.
need IG-11 for? Just to
He
take care
Because
of Grogu?
he needs a
well,
droid he
if you
can trust.
remember,
That's what he says.
yeah, part of his character is that he hates droids, right? But he's grown to trust this droid because he met him before, and
Yeah.
he sacrificed himself to like save everybody or whatever. So he's like, this is the only droid that I trust. So we're gonna have to
Can
rebuild him.
only a droid pilot a ship to the remains of Mandalore or something?
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah,
why
I
he
don't know.
can't get a buddy. But Jacob, that
He
is a
just
good
really wants
point.
his old droid back.
Why
I'll
is
give
he
you
that droid in particular? It's
I give
obliterated.
Jacob credit for uncovering the idea that the droids murdered his whole town and then he became a foundling. That was that point in season 1. So the
Right.
fact that there's only one droid he messes with, you know
Yeah,
what?
he hates droids.
I'll give them 1 point back for the only droid he's been familiar with that he's ever trusted. Okay. Still,
Yeah.
we're on a side quest before we even begin.
Right. But it really
the main
feels like
stuff.
it's almost like we need to bring this droid back so we can have Taika Waititi voice him again, so people can be like,
Yeah.
I remember him from season 1 or whatever.
Actually,
That's
now
mainly what it feels like.
I want to walk it back and take 2 points away because now it's reminding me of a visual representation of digging up old stars and forcing them into a show that they should not be in via CG,
Right.
etc., dead actors, etc., that maybe it's a
Yeah.
little disrespectful to IG-11. It was a
That he
stand-in
died a
metaphor here.
hero.
It could be is it disrespectful to bring people back from the dead to force them into your media?
Right.
Yes.
And also,
Even
I
a
guess you
robot.
can just bring a droid back to life. But I guess they bring him back, but he's evil again because he lost all his
He
memories or something.
resets to his original programming. Now, Jacob, if a droid started crawling at you, would your first thought, after you paid a lot of money to have it rebuilt, to shoot 1,000 holes into it?
Yeah, and then like smash his head in with a statue.
This is
Yeah,
a Marvel.
probably.
That's using your head, yeah. But this does bring us to one of the things that is enjoyable for me in this episode. You know, Navarro's attracted the best droid smiths in the Outer Rim. And here we got,
yes.
baby. A whole
I would
group
say
of
this is
Babu
a point
Fricks.
for me as well. A bunch
Yes.
of Babu Fricks.
I love it. I love it.
But I would say, does it kind of like seeing Babu Frick in Rise of Skywalker? That was one of my favorite parts of that movie, which I don't like
Mhm.
very much.
Yeah.
It's one of the lone bright spots for me is this wacky character. But now
Yeah.
to say, oh, there's a whole race of little Babu Frick aliens that all are running around doing Babu
Droid
Frick stuff.
Hey.
Jacob,
I
you
mean-
know how you like Pop-Tarts? Well, we turned it into a soda. And you're like,
Yeah.
well, I don't. That's not going to
Is
work.
it going to
for
ruin
me.
him by kind of overexposing this character, I guess, or this
Yeah.
this race of aliens? But I did like it. It was fun.
It was very cute.
Yeah.
I welcome their addition to the Star Wars universe. They're like Ugnaughts. It's like they're fun, and I like seeing Din Djarin in a tiny room, like huddled down. Like that's fun, and I genuinely
Seeing
thought that was
Grogu
neat.
interact with them.
Carl Weathers, the Grand
very
Magistrate, on his
funny.
hands and knees on the dirt, like looking in this little window. It's
Means a
cool.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look,
That's
say
the
the
highlight for
other-
me.
Yeah.
Oh,
Colin.
yeah. Keep going. Keep rolling, please.
I was gonna say the other little reference that they throw in here is he walks by a tree full of little salacious crumbs, right?
Oh, bird lizards
Oh,
or whatever.
yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
And now, does that do anything for you to have a bunch of little
Hey,
salacious crumbs in a tree?
It doesn't not do something for me. I'll say that much. It
That's
Yeah.
gets me
something.
there a little.
Just throwing some member berries at you, right?
No,
Yes,
right.
exactly.
That's the most we've ever seen. That we've seen them caged up, presumably to be eaten. So this is
Yeah.
we've just seen them hanging out in the
Yes.
wild.
Or one
So
was
We've
getting
seen
roasted
one on
over
a
a fire,
Spitfire.
right?
Yeah.
yeah. So
Porg style. Here's what I want to point out. Just
Mhm.
if we're doing literal just like highlights of like, hey, Mando's back, because I don't have a ton of them for this
Mhm.
episode. But I want to say, because we're talking about like the retro vibe, a lot of throwback stuff. You guys both just point out like practical things that you liked, like Salacious Crumb and Babu Fricks are practical puppets.
Sure.
Mhm.
This episode was shot by my favorite cinematographer of all time, Dean Kundi. Did you guys see
Oh.
that at
What?
the end?
I did not
Spielberg's
see
old
that.
collaborator,
Guys,
right?
the guy who shot for the three
Jurassic
directors that
Park.
make me think of the 80s, Spielberg in Jurassic Park, Carpenter and Halloween, and Back to the Future and Deacons. I mean, or
Wow.
Zemeckis, Jesus Christ, Deacons, Zemeckis. I mean, the look of that is to me also kind of Star Wars, and so like it was a beautiful episode. You know, it
Yeah.
didn't look too volumey, I guess I would say.
Yeah,
It
there's
seems
some
like
cool
yeah.
locations and stuff too. Like him going to Navarro. It's like different. At least it's not like Tatooine again. So it's like looks a little different. And then going to visit Bo-Katan and her little palace or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Or
you know,
whatever.
there's some
On
stuff going
Mandalore.
on.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
Yes, it
I
just
had
peaked a bit.
I had not realized that the cinematographer of Halloween decided
That
to
is
do
pretty
this.
The
crazy.
man who invented the Steadicam mic. Now, of course, this was
Uh-huh.
Sure.
directed by Rick Fumiyawa, who has
Mhm.
directed other Mandalorian episodes, but of course, he's
Right.
probably most well known for once was the guy who directed the Flash movie that's about to come out 4
Oh,
Flash movies ago, and then
great.
of course directed Dope,
Oh
his
yeah.
breakout signature film.
Well, there's another scene in this that I think was handled really well, and that's we get some pirate space battle, and I think the same director had some of that in his previous episodes of the show. So the space battle was, I think, fun. It reminded me a lot of episode 2 and the supersonic charges, and
Yeah.
with Obi-Wan, and I enjoyed the
Totally.
space fight. Honestly, I thought that was
Yeah.
cool.
Well,
What
it's
did you guys
showing
think
off.
about the look of the pirates?
I like
Yeah,
seeing
they
Nikto
look
pirates
pretty
in that.
practical too, right?
Yep,
So yeah,
effects
pretty
are
cool.
good.
Makeup, yeah, I'd say.
Just
And
seeing
the
them on a
pirate
TV show,
king, the
Swamp Thing.
Swamp Thing King, yeah.
I can't even
Yeah.
imagine what is going
Davy
on there.
Jones. right.
Gorian Shan, is that his name?
What?
Am
How
I,
do you?
am I remembering that?
Does
You're
that
not
come
looking
up
that
at
up.
the end of the credits? That's incredible.
They proper noun
And
him
of
a few
course,
times.
Gorian Shand as a tree.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I was going to say the battles kind of shows off his new ship, which is of course a remodeled Imperial Naboo fighter from
Mhm.
the prequels, right?
Yep.
Which I think is cool, but I think I still prefer the Razor Quest, his first ship, because
Yeah.
it has cargo space. It feels more like a bounty hunter ship where he goes around and it has room in it. Whereas this is
Mhm.
more just a fighter where it's got a little section for Grogu to sit in. That it's like where R2D2 would have
That's
sat.
a good use of the droid port, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
not a great bounty hunting
It's not a
ship.
great bounty hunter ship. It's more of a just
guys,
a yeah.
He's a
again,
dad now.
narratively, in the Razor Crest, I love that you remember that. The other day, I could not
course.
recall what the name of that ship was.
Mhm.
But as you're saying, a ship for loading and unloading cargo, it literally had carbonite spacing, or like a sequencing
Storage.
like system,
Yeah.
storage
Right.
on the ship or whatever. That is the ship of a bounty hunter. Din Djarin is no longer a bounty hunter. He is a protector. He is a man
That's
who
true.
literally just flies around with his son and goes on quests.
Mhm.
And he
Yeah.
now has what ex host of this podcast, Joe called the other day to me a stripped down hot rod, which I think is
Yeah.
cool, but I do miss Jacob, the other ship. I agree with you there.
Yeah, I mean, this one it is cool, and it's probably faster and more maneuverable and stuff than the Razor Crest. So it's like he can be in these space battles and really pull off some crazy stunts. But there's something just that I just really liked about the Razor Quest for his ship.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. It has an iconic look again. This is harkening back to episode 1 and the prequels, which is cool that this kind of ties those things together, where we get
Yeah,
post cool stuff with Babu Frick. We get pit droids from the prequels. We get classic Luke. He's all the eras are represented here, which is cool TV. But
Right.
the Razor Crest is pretty iconic, and now he's just midlife crisis dad with his convertible and his Grogu on the
going
weekends.
around with his son.
The
Yeah.
fastest fucking pilot in the galaxy.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
This is a carburetor. You got to showing. I like that he's teaching him how to fly the ship. You got to know how to navigate like that. That's all good because he had an interest in the
Ridiculous.
knobs and gadgets. So yeah, there's an
Well,
evolution happening here. But
He's an interest in one knob.
yeah, that's true.
That's his favorite knob. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now he's stealing candy. Look at him go.
Yep.
Which that
He's a little
stuff's cute and fine.
troublemaker.
But I guess
So,
go ahead, Colin.
I just want to go beat for beat for a second and go before we're even introduced to that, narratively we get like the sound that represents Mandalorians as the credits are coming up. We get the armorer working away at her forge, right? Bang,
Yes.
bang, creating the armor. you know that they like John Favreau is going like, this is about Mandalorians this season. And you
Mhm.
get this whole opening sequence where the dope hot rod we were just talking about is going to come in and save the day. But first, this sort of religious reclamation of a youth, a lost youth, what we can imagine was the process Din Djarin went through as a quote unquote foundling, being turned into a quote unquote Mandalorian.
Mhm.
That the armorer, I guess of her own volition, just kind of gets to like choose like what color you're going to wear for the rest of your life, what your dumb little like religious helmet, like your whole identity will be. She could put, I guess, a smiley face on there if she wanted to.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then all these Mandalorians come out and cheer and get ready for this sequence. Now, guys, I just want to say and ask you guys, one, do you like this scene? Like, what the hell do you think about all this? But I just want to point out to you, like, the one thing we all wanted to see as kids from the late 80s, early 90s was a Mandalorian, like a Boba Fett. And this scene gives you like 30 different colored Boba Fetts all like high-fiving each other, like
Mhm.
cheering and screaming. Like it
There's-
is out of a child's daydream.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. For me, uh, you know, like I said before, like the Mandalorian stuff, and this is probably a silly complaint, or sounds silly to say that I wish this show called The Mandalorian was less about Mandalorians, but I don't know. I'm just not into the Mandalorian stuff as much. And seeing them all together with their helmets and stuff, I thought it kind of looked a little silly to have them all just with their helmets on. And I
Yeah.
thought that the practicalness of wearing a helmet all your life and never being able to take it off and having to eat through the helmet and
You just
just
drink
live your
soup.
entire life in this helmet.
Mhm.
And I was like, I don't know if I would want to be a Mandalorian, actually. I kind of like not wearing a helmet
You
most
kind
of
of
the
had to be
time.
brainwashed from a young age to kind of buy into that.
Yeah.
It looks like, at least the way they staged it too, it's like 30, 40 people on a beach in the middle of the daytime. It looks like people in cosplay. Like,
Yeah.
do it at night with some moody torches and like, like
And their
make it a
uniforms are
thing.
all too
Wow.
clean. Like they don't look like lived in,
Lived in.
really.
Yeah,
No.
yeah,
Yeah.
They don't
yeah.
look like they've touched
They're
a
too
second of the
shiny.
sand. I am so glad we're all on the same opinion of this. Now, look, I think what's happening is cool and that they're showing that, like, this is horrifying. You don't want to be a Mandalorian. But,
Yeah.
guys, we all also grew up with the Power Rangers. And this looks
Yeah.
like a scene with the Power Rangers. And
Yeah.
it's the ice cream effect where, like, I like ice cream. Okay, ice cream's cool. You go to an ice cream parlor and you look at the one that's called like Superman that's like 17 different colors and you look like at the other one that's crazy and you go like, do I like ice cream? Like
Right.
it all seems very alien and strange when it's together.
Or almost you
Yeah.
have one cone and then they're like, okay, now you have to have the other 31 flavors before you can leave. It's like, no, I just wanted one.
I can't do that. My cone is called Boba Fett and it really fascinated me when I
Yeah.
was 6 and now
I've had enough.
I get sick if I have any more.
Boba
Yes,
Fett was
yes.
great. Seeing all these Mandalorians together with their different colors and stuff, it just, you're right. It looks like a cosplay group all got together.
It's shocking.
Could have
Yeah.
been.
And
One-
part of the
yeah.
part of the show is that, like, Mando, he doesn't know that he's in a cult at first because that's the way he was raised. And then when he meets Bo-Katan and some other normal Mandalorians, they're like, "Oh, you're one of those weird people that never takes their helmet off."
You
And he's
can
like,
drink
"What? I thought all
Mountain Dew
Mandalorians
with
are like this."
caffeine? No,
Mhm.
I'm Mormon. We can't do that.
Your parents let you
They're
watch
the
South
Mormons
Park?
of Mandalorian. Yeah.
Yeah. The Mandalorians. Don't come at me. So here's the thing, though.
That's right.
They are trying to show the culture, and we're gonna have the other faction. We have the Night Owls or whatever Bo-Katan's group is called, and it's like, yeah,
The Night Owls.
are we not are we oversaturated? Night Watch. Are we oversaturated
God.
with Pedro Pascal? No, but are we oversaturated with Mandalorian characters? I think it's gonna happen here.
Maybe. Yeah.
Hey, Mike,
yeah.
no, I think the other one's called the Death Watch. I think you're right. I think they are called
The Night Owls and Death Watch. Yeah, I get them
Yeah,
confused.
You're right.
That's
Oh,
right.
God. They do have the
And
owls. Yeah, the court. They're gonna try Batman.
Well, that's what's interesting is that, like, if you've seen like Clone Wars and stuff, the group that he's a part of are like the villains of Mandalorian, and like
Mhm.
they're kind of ruining Mandalore society. People are like, oh,
Interesting.
these extremists are like being weird again, and that's who he wants to rejoin, and he's going to spend this whole season trying
What?
to rejoin this cult.
I don't think there's anything weird that my helmet says "Make Mandalore Great Again." What are you talking
Bro,
about?
seriously, right. I
Yeah.
think there's the arc of this will be he's going on his mission. He's going to learn a lot more about the Mandalore home world and the way things work. Because even Bo-Katan is like, you guys weren't there when the frickin' whatever, the Empire came and killed all of us.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
too many
the
now. It's like,
genocide.
yeah, where were you guys for that? So he'll learn about the real
Right.
history. She can kind of fill him in, and maybe he'll become the leader of the Mandalorians and be like, helmets off, fam. We're not doing that. That's
I
what
hope
I
so.
see the arc
Yeah.
being, but
I hadn't
that's my
thought of that. You
prediction.
might be right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would
Yeah.
make a lot of sense.
Can I ask a lore question? Again, I know we're not the Cargo Bay podcast where you would go if you want to some Star Wars knowledge,
Mhm.
but I played Knights of the Old Republic where there is a Mandalorian character you recruit who calls himself Mandalore as the Emperor of Mandalore. He believes himself to be the chief of the tribe or the leader or whatever. And even he talks about like at that game, which I think is like 1,000 years or something before like, normal Star Wars. He's like,
Yep.
well, people have always been, wiping out Mandalorians. Like, I'm from a different genocide. So, like, is that truly just like their history?
They're the Poland of space
Oh.
Star Wars groups. No, they originally feuded with the Jeddah, which is an ancient precursor to the Jedi. So that's why the Mandalorians have always had kind of beef with Jedi, because they've been, at odds with them since the early days.
That's why
and
they have a dark saber versus the lightsabers or whatever.
Correct. And the theory on why that's heavy is potentially it's like a black hole. Like it's the opposite. It's eating light instead of emitting
Oh, I
light, and that's
love
why
it.
it's hard
I
to
love
wield.
it so much.
But yeah, the original leader who helped them defend against the Jedi, I believe, his name was Mandalore, which is where they took the name of being the leader. Like, now you are the Mandalore. It was after
course.
someone's proper name, like the Buddha or Bodhisattva, right? This revered figure. You are now that, right? So
Sure.
Wow.
that's
Thank you,
the
Mike.
lore.
That clears a lot up.
Double check it on the Cargo Bay. That's my layman's Mandalore 101 that I took at community college. Yeah,
That's right. And have either of you guys played KOTOR?
a long
I've
time
played,
ago. Yeah,
a long time ago, and KOTOR 2, but I don't think I ever like
Yes.
finished them in terms of like the storyline and stuff. So
I bet you could put a bitch and Mando mod on those games. And
Oh,
just
man, yeah.
fucking
those games would be
walk
those
around.
games would be a prime candidate for like a remaster where they
Yes.
can improve sort of the gameplay and some things that didn't age so well, but keep like
Yeah.
the story and the world and stuff. That
Put in cyberpunk fucking,
Right.
Yeah.
like conversation trees and shit. Oh my god.
There is a light side, dark side mechanic. I mean, it is, one of the, companies that did that well.
the early choices, quote unquote.
BioWare.
Yeah, BioWare before they got not so great.
Yeah, it was
but,
sort of a precursor to like Mass Effect, and so if it had like a Mass Effect, the newer Mass Effect sort of engine, it would be. I would play the hell
and
out
it's
of
got
that.
one of
Oh,
the
man.
one of the greatest twists in gaming. I'm not going to spoil it, but if you don't remember the story, it's honestly like one of the
Oh, yes.
coolest
Yes,
things
yes, yes.
ever. So check it out if you haven't. But yeah, Mandalore lore goes way back, and then their feuds go way back, and they have a history of just trying to chill. Like, even during the Clone War period, they're getting, they're having a civil war, and then Darth Maul comes in and takes over,
Right.
and it's like they're always dealing with some shit. So
Yeah,
trying to unite the tribes, I think, should be priority one of anyone who dares to call themselves Mandalore, take that claim.
Right.
The goal should be uniting everybody. Yeah.
and if you
Yeah.
remember from earlier in the show, so the person who controls the dark saber is supposed to be like that uniting person, and that's what Bo-Katan was trying to do, but then
You have
old
to win it in
Din Djarin
combat.
wins it in combat, right? So she's like, no, you go fucking do it, because guess what? Everyone left me because I didn't have the dark saber. So
Which is
maybe
like
that's his
says something
path,
for
I guess.
leadership style too. Like, is it that finicky?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
the
like
whole
King
squad.
Arthur. If he doesn't have his sword, like people won't follow him.
What could I do? They gave it to Dave.
Yeah.
Like King Arthur and Dave?
Like, then
yep,
why didn't
you got
Moff
the
Gideon
sword.
just be like, listen to me now? It's me,
Yeah.
the
Right.
Mandalore Moff Gideon. But
You would think. He was too dumb. He didn't
So
know what he
maybe
had.
everyone has silly belief systems that they need to be challenged on. Maybe
Well-
Bo-Katan and other Mandalorian could be challenged on just this sword creating the right to rule. Maybe we'll democratize,
Yeah.
Who knows? That would be wild for the Mandalorians to become a democracy, Who
Yes.
knows? But that's
And
it.
look-
That's the question. So where are we going?
He did not wield it. He was asked flat out, "Do you still have the dark saber?" And he said, "Oh yeah." And
Mhm.
it feels like we should say there's been, I guess supposedly John Favreau said this, there's a bit of a time skip this season. Like it has been like some time he's been traveling with
Yeah,
Mando or with Grogu now.
Mhm.
Maybe he's good with the fucking dark saber now. I'm kind of excited to see that. That would be cool.
sure.
Yeah, he trained
Yeah, it's
with it
kind of
like
unclear
guts.
the time, how much time has passed. And I read that online that like he said like 2 years had passed between end of season 2 and season 3, and then also they've been going around for like several years having adventures. I'm not sure how that lines up like in the
Doing
canon
what?
of Star Wars, this being between the original series and the sequels, right? In
Mhm.
terms of the overall
Is
Skywalker
Force
story.
Awakens literally supposed to be like 30 years later or whatever, or 25 or how many ever real years later it
From
was?
Return of
I
the
don't
Jedi?
remember
I
how
believe
many
Yeah.
exactly,
so.
like 30 or something,
So
because
they've got that whole gap that he can be like, it's
yeah.
been 2 years. It's like, yeah, from point one, it's like this much has passed. That's
Yeah, we
I'm
see
fine
Luke
with that.
Skywalker. He's still sort of
Mhm.
a youngish man. I mean, he's maybe
Yeah.
5 to 10 years older than Last Jedi, or not Return of the Jedi, Luke.
Mhm.
What if the next time you see him, he's the last Jedi? Look, it's like it's been
Oh, you
2 years,
aged
and
really
you're like,
badly, Luke.
oh my god.
The real final Return of the Jedi.
It's like, well,
Yeah,
I defeated the Emperor. I was electrocuted like 8
Well,
times.
somehow Palpatine
yeah.
returns, so you know what?
Right. Well, I
Good for
guess
you.
so.
But
But I guess because Grogu doesn't age, it's hard to really tell
Yeah.
how long it's been.
It's our classic Witcher conundrum, Jacob, where 8 characters in The Witcher weren't aging, and we were all supposed to be
Yeah,
like, "Well, you know what year it is."
Game
And
of
you're like,
Thrones
"That guy
too,
wears a
right?
mask. Yeah, that's a baby, an eternal baby. I don't know what to
right.
tell you."
Mhm. Yeah. But it's hard. Yeah, it's tricky to do. I don't know about the time jump, but there was clearly enough time for Navarro to get established in Grand Magistrate Karga. Like things are
Yeah,
looking way different than when the Death Troopers rolled in with Moff Gideon last time.
a lot of real estate. There's a real estate boom going on Navarro.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
resources. I'll set you up with a prime plot. Like you could get all this money. Like that seems like a good deal, honestly. Like cool of him to
Yes,
offer
it
that.
does.
Yeah.
And
Take
that kind
the
of leads
job.
to, so these pirates come down and are like, "Hey, what up? We want to drink in this bar." And he's like, "No, it's a
Now,
school now."
Heard you need a first
Jacob,
act
What'd you think of that
conflict.
scene?
Yeah.
Jacob, if you were a rowdy teenager in a leather jacket and a man walked up to you in a bulletproof bomb diffusing suit, would your
Right.
move to be like, "Well, I can take this guy in a fight. I'll just shoot him with my little bow and arrow." Pew pew.
Yeah, yeah. This guy that
Especially
looks like he really knows what he's doing. And I've heard stories about this Mandalorian who's going around just like
I heard you once
fucking
saw.
people up. Yeah,
here's the thing too. If I'm a space pirate, presumably, right? If we're looking at this in real world context, I'm a space pirate. So that means I traffic and trade in goods that are of high value, and high desirability and rarity, right? Beskar is one of the most highly desired and rare things. So you would assume you would know what it looks like when you see it.
Oh
You'd
yeah.
assume you see this guy covered in it head to toe. That guy's
No,
balling.
no.
I know I can't shoot a laser at him. No, dude, I'm not.
or maybe they
No.
want to jump in, take his suit, and then they can resell it
But you're not just
and become
gonna.
rich.
Yeah, but you're not gonna sucker punch him with your pull the lasers
Yeah.
on him. You're gonna be like, oh,
Yeah,
we're
it's
out
like-
of here, and then you jump
Because
him,
I
right?
think that they're
Yeah.
just they're like cocky and inexperienced pirates. So like maybe
Yeah.
they're not the smartest people.
Or it's just a forced first act conflict because we need a first act conflict,
Yeah,
But yeah, they're not the smartest at the very
They're
least.
like we're gonna try this guy, and
But maybe
they fucked
the
around and
pirate,
found out.
yeah, Pirate Lord might be following. Who knows? They could be following him around for this season to
Yes.
bother him here and there.
Swamp
Yeah.
Thing is out there for an
Mhm.
extended conflict. Okay.
That's right. In the Shrike. Oh wait, that's a different big ship. But anyway, uh,
That's right.
interesting.
space
I do like
pirates.
seeing their makeup though. It looked good. Like anytime I see a Nikto pirate and stuff, I'm like, okay, good job prosthetics. They
You
look
see a
good.
couple different alien races in that grouping, and then Gorian Shand
Mhm.
looking good with his little vines coming off and everything.
Yeah. We get a couple cute droids in this episode too. The Cape droids. We get a sort of
Oh,
protocol
yeah.
droid, which every time I see one of those now, I think, did a 12-year-old make that one too?
It was a popular, Life Day gift in that
Yeah.
era of the Republic.
Mom.
That's kind of what I think.
It
'cause
teaches them programming skills. Yes.
What I did.
Anakin must have
They'll help
bought
your
like
mom
a
around the
kit
house.
because there's other
But
models that look like
again,
C-3PO.
Right.
So maybe he just bought like a
Jacob,
do-it-yourself kit and
can
like
you
put it
imagine
together.
saying you as a little boy saying, "Well, my mom's a housekeeper. I'll make her a vacuum cleaner. I'll
Right,
just
which-
buy one of those kits and I'll just put the pieces inside."
Or you live in a junkyard. You figure it out as you go.
Yeah.
You get a little piece here, a little piece there.
Yeah.
You know, you can build
Yeah.
cars that way. You just find a wrecked one. Ah, this one has a left side door. I'll take that, I guess. But somehow
It
that
all
one that he
fits.
threw together was like, someone purchased it and was like, this will go on my Republic ship for the
He's still
highest
out
level
there, Mike.
senators. He's still
He's
doing
still
it.
running
You
around.
wonder where his red arm came from, but that's a story for another time.
He
But
had to
yeah.
have his memory erased recently by some adorable creatures.
Yep, but I do like
That's
to see a protocol droid, out there.
Yep.
Even, this has a face that we've seen that style even in the original series. So familiar kind of design.
I don't like those ones as much though.
No, but that's okay. They're still valid. But
Yeah, they're still valid.
yeah.
I guess.
All droid lives matter. Okay, the Millennium
I
Falcon
guess.
told me so.
Uh,
So Nikto stuff. Grief's like, hey, we got pirates. Stay here, live with me. Din says, I have adventures, as we said, because season 3 is here. They jump
I
into
don't
the
know if you
space
know,
field.
Disney Plus pays me a lot of money. I go on these adventures. They're very popular. It's the only thing that keeps people subscribed. I don't know if you're familiar with my work.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah,
right.
exactly. Have you seen the merchandising numbers on Grogu?
We sell a lot of dolls.
I guess we do mention at this point the acknowledgement of the fan base, just saying we reject saying Grogu. We've been pretty
Yes.
good so far in this
It's
episode,
Grogu.
actually, better than I thought. Yeah, let's
It's
play
a
that scene.
it's a truly very meta episode. John Favreau literally writes a line where Mando says Grogu. His name's Grogu. He says to Grand Maester, what did I call him
Magistrate.
earlier? Thank
Grand
you,
Maester.
Grand Magistrate
Maester.
Geef Karga, former bounty hunter.
Grief
Think about any of
Karga,
this.
yeah.
Grief Karga. Thank you, Jacob.
Carl
And he
Weathers.
says, if you say so, like it acknowledging
whatever.
that, like his
Yeah.
name being Grogu means nothing. He will be forever referred to as Baby Yoda because
Uh-huh.
that is
Yeah.
how these things work.
It
That's
would
what
be
we
funny if
determined.
someone in the show called him Baby Yoda, but it would have to be someone who knew Yoda
It would
back
have to
in
be
the day.
Luke
It was like,
Skywalker.
hey,
He's
it's
like,
Baby Yoda.
if you choose
Ahsoka
this
coulda done it.
lightsaber, I
Yeah.
will call you Baby Yoda. Do you understand that? And he's like, well, I don't want to be called that. So I'm going
Right.
back with my dad. He knows my real name. It's Grogu.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ahsoka has no sense of humor after being rejected from the Jedi Order, so she wouldn't make a
No.
joke like, he's a little baby Yoda. So, but she would be able to because
No.
she did know him. But anyway,
She's not winky. We got that show coming up. That I'm really excited for. Because I think
True.
Rosario
guess.
Dawson's a straight up boss.
oh
Yeah.
man, and you see Pedro and her on the red carpet. They have good chemistry. He's like, it's my favorite
Oh.
person, Rosario Dawson. Yeah, they seem to have a
Ah.
good relationship off camera.
I would
so.
like her to be in this season. I would like
Sure
more
she will.
Rebels characters to come up. Supposedly they're going to be in a lot of her stuff.
We saw a
so-
whale type thing from the Rebels
Yes,
show when they were
that's
in
the big
hyperspace.
reveal in this episode, Mike,
Oh.
right? Space
Yeah,
whale.
let's talk Easter eggs. Space whale.
We,
Yeah.
our third space whale this year. Is
Yeah.
that what we're on? Second? How many
There's-
space whales
there was,
outside
like,
of Pandora?
Because there was 2 in Star Trek, a
Right.
bunch in
It's-
Pandora.
We're doing
I
pretty
thought you were
good.
referring Star
Whales
Trek
in
because there's
space.
2
Yes.
in there. Yeah.
Yes, at least.
We're in
Well,
double
speaking
digits.
of Rebels, I know I read they've at least cast Sabine, I think her name is the
Sabine Wren.
character
Yeah.
from Rebels that has
The
a
pilot.
Mandalorian helmet and
She's the
stuff.
spray painter, kind of artsy
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Oh,
she
that
spray
one.
paints her helmet.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's cool.
Who is
So
it?
she's
Do you
been
know?
cast for live action.
I don't remember the name, but it's not like a
I don't
name
love that
knew.
character.
I
but-
think. Well, I've watched all of Rebels, and I do like Sabine Wren. I think at one
Yeah.
point she has a dark saber at some point. It makes its
Yeah,
way into
yeah.
Bo-Katan's hands, but I think that's
Mm.
before all of this happening.
Oh, of
but-
course. So they must be paying up to some of that. We have to hear the
Mhm.
tale
Yeah.
because
I think it's,
recall that episode as well, Mike, where she's like,
Yep.
"Here, take this, lead our people." So
Right.
Which
I-
wasn't like combat, but okay. Well,
Right.
Bo-Katan acknowledges that though. She's like, it came to me not through combat. Nobody fucking cared, and yeah.
Right.
So
But now they care. Yeah, I think they're like, we need another Mandalorian character in the show, so let's bring in the other.
who do we have?
Yeah,
Mhm.
more helmets, please.
Great.
Yeah.
And we're seeing so many helmets. I do appreciate at least with the child's helmet that the armorer makes. It has like wider
Mm.
view visor. slots.
Well, it grows with you, Mike. You know,
That's
like
what
your ears and eyes. You're born with them
yeah,
the size they are, and then your
that
head
is
grows
another
around.
question.
You grow into
Do
it.
you get resized helmets as you get older and your head's larger? Do they
Hey,
give
can
you
I
new
not have
helmets?
a bright blue one, please?
You
No,
filled
no,
out the
no.
survey. You said your favorite color was blue.
I,
You're sticking with it.
Maybe they
I
do
got
get
my
some
little
input where
spray.
she's like, "All right, what's your favorite
No
color? Like,
backsies.
what designs do you
What's
like?"
going on here?
What?
Can
Yeah,
I get
I would
like
That's the
hope so.
airspeed
plaid?
velocity of a swallow. Yeah. Um, but I imagine that that's so you can see better as you're training. If I'm thinking like from a practical standpoint, and then as you get better, you want to make that smaller because it's like the one vulnerable part of the armor. Maybe it's not
Sure.
made out of Beskar.
Right.
So yeah, just also don't do it in front of the freaking murder alligator pit. You have to know what's in there. Why are we having the
Yeah.
ceremony with all the food on the beach?
And do we know what that was? That was not a crate dragon, as he has faced off
It
against
wasn't a
before.
mythosaur, as far as I
That's
know. Those are
The
native to
great
I don't even know
Mandalore.
what planet the Mandalorians are living on now because it's not Mandalore, obviously.
Right.
It's just another
'Cause-
desert planet.
Yeah, the collective left. I mean, we know that they set out to escape.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had to dip once their whole the cover was blown,
Planet.
you know, by the Mandalorian
Yeah.
season 1.
The
Yeah.
covert has been exposed. What have you brought us? I bring you little Grogu. He's make him a little shirt, please.
Give him a helmet, cut the ear holes. But I mean, that's kind of where we're at. This
That's
feels
pretty much it.
This
Yeah.
feels like a terminus. I think we can transition into final thoughts where we might be going on the season premiere. Really, we have one episode to speculate on here, so let's go ahead and get to the old wrap up here right after this on Normies Like Us.
We're back here on Normies Like Us, where we've been talking Mandalorian season 3. We're gonna wrap it up here, put ourselves back in carbonite, and be put away with our final thoughts. Did we get any kind of, sometimes with these season premieres, you get a on this season of Mandalorian season 3 or on the next episode? I did not watch anything. No.
I don't think so.
I don't think I made it through the credits. That's how invested I was. Now
I
feel
saw the
bad.
Dean Kundi thing and truly turned the TV off and said
Wow.
out loud to myself, well, what do you know? it really wasn't even that exciting now that I think about it.
Well, the thing with Dean Kundi is if you look at his filmography in
It's a lot of TV.
When it comes to
has
sci-
gone downhill where maybe he's
He
just
directed a made-for-TV Scooby-Doo movie called Scooby-Doo and the Lake Monster 2.
there you go.
I would like to acknowledge.
I mean, sometimes you got to take the work that you're offered, right? But
Mhm.
I
Job's a
think
job.
shot Jurassic Park, just to
Yeah.
say once again. Shot the movie Jurassic Park, a film that people watch and go, I want my movie to look like that. He did that.
Shot the movie Halloween. Best way to stretch a budget ever.
Created a format of filming. No.
But again,
please
if you
continue.
look at Spielberg and Carpenter, they started using other cinematographers at a certain
Mandalorian has to know their way
Nothing against
Yamish.
Mr. Kundi. Though.
that way.
Yeah.
No.
I think
It'll never be
for
lost.
my final thoughts overall on this episode, for a season premiere, it felt just very kind of mid and very like a transitional episode or an expositional episode where you're saying, okay, we need to get our character from one plot point to the next. How can we do that? And it didn't have like it. I don't know, especially for a premiere, it just felt underwhelming to the point of like, I don't know. I'm not really looking forward to this show so much anymore. But
Yeah.
you guys
A-
feel
as
the
a-
same? Or
Again, I'm lukewarm, not to Star Wars it, but yeah, I didn't even watch till the end credits for the preview. I mentioned up top that I watch, or maybe off pod that I watched always the 5-minute end of episode recaps that HBO does for The Last of Us, the Pedro Pascal thing. But this I didn't even wait. So they needed a jumbo size first episode. There should have been 50 minutes to an hour,
Yes.
right?
yeah, it was like 35 minutes.
Yeah.
Standard length.
My
Crazy.
father's words were lacking.
Yeah.
He
Hmm.
said it's not bad, it's lacking. And I'm trying to think back. I can't recall what the season 2 premiere was. Again, a
Hmm.
different world where I'm going, oh, that guy that I think saved this thing that I miss loving as a child is back. Hallelujah. And this time I
Yeah.
watched it and I'm like, we're gonna have Mandalorian for the rest of my life, and I hate it. It's like there's gonna be season 9 of Mandalorian. He's gonna be like, Colin, you have to tune back in. Don't you realize I'm picking Grogu up from high school this season? Like that's a huge character arc, and it's like, no,
Yeah.
no.
I am Grogu.
You're
Well-
never gonna get me excited again.
And I
Baby
wonder if
Grogu
some of
and
that
the
is
Guardians of the
because
Galaxy.
Yeah, Disney crossover.
because
Whoa.
season 1 and 2 felt sort of like a self-contained story that was ended.
Yeah.
And so it's like that arc concluded, but now we're going to keep going. And then it's like, oh, great. Well, I guess, the show's going to keep going, but we sort of lost what was making the first 2 seasons
Yes.
really good.
Yes. Now the guy that we all love, Jacob, could show up in one episode of Ahsoka and have his whole own episode in that. And you're like, ooh, I don't know if I want that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You better
Yeah.
watch Ahsoka or you're going to miss stuff for this show.
Well, that's another thing I think is the reason why this is underwhelmed, at least us. And I haven't looked at the viewer numbers or ratings, but personally it feels lacking, as your father would describe it, Colin. There was nothing in between season 1 and 2 of this that was Star Wars.
No.
We didn't have a so-so Boba Fett and a so-so Obi-Wan show, which are 2 fan favorite characters, and they were like, this is kind of mid. Meanwhile,
Right.
Andor, character nobody cares about, show's great. Mandalorian, a brand new character, the first 2 seasons were great, but there was 2 misses in between these, and I think that's kind of put people off on it. Also, again, we've concluded this in the second season. That second season finale was really good. He's hanging off of a TIE fighter with a Darksaber, IG-11. Like, there was some really good stuff in that season 2 finale, if everybody forgets that. Yeah.
That is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, now it's like back to the adventures of Grogu and Mando.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think Andor being the last thing that we had in Star Wars a couple months ago, it is like, the writing in that is just so good that it kind of makes this look worse in comparison. And again, it's like, okay, Star Wars is like primarily for kids and for younger people, and maybe Andor is a little more adult focused. So you don't want all of Star Wars to be like that, but you can still have good, compelling writing in a show that's aimed for kids. And Mando, this episode, I just felt like was very mid and, like you said, lacking, and like wasn't really hooking me in for this season. And I mean, I'm going to keep watching, of course, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm losing. I guess it's just losing steam for
magic.
me. Yeah.
So they did release. I watched on the side silently just to kind of get a gist of what's going on there. There is a episode 2 promo trailer that's publicly available online. I'm stepping through it. It appears that he's what looks to be Mandalore. It seems like it's glassed over. He's doing some exploring with Grogu, but there appears to be a character that may be Sabine Wren. There's a droid that might be Chopper. So maybe next week is where we start to get Rebel stuff in there.
And is that just going full fan service, Mike?
A little bit. There also seems to be our favorite lady with her pit droids. So they go back to Tatooine at some point.
Okay.
Peli Motto.
And of course, you just acknowledged that Peli Motto, played by Amy Sedaris, is of course my favorite character in Star Wars.
Yep.
The greatest character.
She
of all
had
time.
relations with a
Used to
Jawa.
be Chewbacca. Doesn't matter. We got Peli Motto now. She's the greatest.
You know what? Her and
that'll get
Bobby
me back
Frick
in.
should have some scenes together, and then
They should hook up.
Hey.
yeah, they both love to work on droids or ships or whatever.
Well, she worked on Mando ships, so that's her tuner. But yeah, it seems like maybe some Rebel stuff. He's gonna at least do some exploring.
We're going to that this early because Asuka seemed like the card that they were hiding the entire time. They didn't pull it on season 1. We never saw Luke. We literally didn't see any return character. Moff Gideon, IG-11, a different character. The Ugnaught that was Nick Nolte, God bless him.
Yeah,
Cara Dune. All these amazing original characters. They never felt the need to go like, Jesus Christ, nobody's going to pay attention to Mandalorian unless we include XYZ.
We get
Han
Cobb
Solo,
Vanth,
blah,
man.
blah, blah.
Yeah.
Yes, you get the handsomest cowboy to ever exist. Then in season 2, they went, let's start introducing it a little. And they did, and it was successful because obviously they need to build out their world. Bo-Katan, Boba Fett. I mean, literally all these characters came in. And if this is all this is, then the show really is done. And it really does feel like it has completely jumped the shark. If it's now just going to be a breeding ground for Mando and Friends and the Justice League and, everybody else and Wonder Mutt and, who else can we throw in?
We're bringing the
like
TV
even if-
universe, the cartoon animated universe out. Like that's what this
Yeah.
feels like it's a
Yes.
vehicle for.
Yes.
Jacob, sorry,
You're
to
right.
It feels
cut you
like,
off.
yeah, it's like sort of like a live action continuation of Clone Wars and Rebels. It's like, yeah, we're gonna reference a whole bunch of Star Wars stuff and bring in characters from other stuff. Um, and by the way, Cara Dune, I thought it was very funny that there was a scene where like, oh yeah, Cara Dune went back to her home planet.
Or she got a
Don't worry
promotion
about
or
that. She went
something.
somewhere.
Yeah,
Her
she's
dude was
gone.
recruited by right wing people, and you're like, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She
it's a
joined
very
the Empire? That's weird.
yeah. Make Navarro great again. But
That's right.
so
That's right.
but that they worked it into a plot point of I need a new Marshal because mine's gone. Like
Yes.
they worked it in
Right.
an organic way, so props. But it is we're extending the animated shows, and before it was like here's a new character doing a new thing, but
Yes.
now it is very much. You remember Ezra, you remember Chopper, which I'm cool with it, but it doesn't have the magic, the spark, the originality anymore.
And one of the big things that they keep like teasing the fans with, Mike, and going like, who knows when we're gonna get this, is Tamura Morrison returning as what is the Rex? Is that his name? The clone that
Captain
people are
Rex.
like,
Yep.
well,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
like the big one. At this point, we have seen him play like 2 clone characters, and like that's fine and cool, but you can't be like waiting to be like, but wait till we really do it. And it's like that is sad and pathetic, guys. Like grow
Right.
up.
I'm
We're
just
at a point
imagining
now
the
where all the clones are 60 years old because it's been so long since the Clone Wars.
right. But I'm imagining the flashback scenes of Clone Wars era stuff and just all the DH Tamura Morrisons in the background of those
Yeah.
shots running around.
Oh,
which-
sure.
Good for him to get the
Jesus.
paycheck. Captain Rex is
Hey.
beloved. Hey, he survives until the Battle of Yavin at the very least. So
Supposedly they've
I guess
retconned
he's
all
still
that.
around.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just gonna become that. And again, as much as I like Rebels and I like the Clone Wars and some of that lore of the history of Mandalore, it's like I think we're positioning, not to put them down, but positioning the Mandalore planet and history and faction to be like almost too OP and too pivotal into the balance of the
Yeah.
entire universe of Star Wars. It's like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jedi,
Well, it seems
Sith,
like
and
it's becoming-
Mandalorians.
It's not
That's
the
your top
Skywalker
3.
saga. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the Mandalorian story. And you're
Yeah.
like, it was the whole time? Wow.
We've
It
been
does,
fighting
it does
Jedi. Yeah.
seem like it's becoming overused to the point that Skywalkers have been in the movies. So it's like, yeah, but it's like, you don't have to make, like, if you don't have a good story for season 3 of The Mandalorian, you can make a different Star Wars show about
We
something else.
promise you can.
No, you
Yeah.
can't. What? How do we put Grogu in it?
But I mean, I guess,
So many
the last
characters.
couple they tried weren't that successful other than Andor. So
If I was Pedro Pascal, I'd be like, I tried. I literally signed on to be the lead of another TV show. I left,
Right.
and they were like, but Pedro, we pay you millions of dollars to just go, hey, Grogu, don't eat that. And he's like I have
Yeah.
to do it.
he's on another show where he gets to like act and emote and stuff instead of
and
just,
he
cry.
kills it.
yeah, instead of just wearing a helmet and
Show
like
his
saying everything
range.
as
Yeah,
flatly
not
as possible.
Just be cool.
I don't think he's
Yeah.
wearing the helmet. I think he's recording his lines during lunch on The Last of Us and just emailing them over. He's got a microphone in
Sure.
his trailer, and then they
Yeah.
got John Wayne's
Not at this
grandson
point.
hanging around. Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, you save money that way, but
Yeah, we don't know. We never know how much he's actually under the helmet, but
No.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, if I can get pretty much the same amount of money to not commute to work, if I can work from home for the same money, I'm working from home, right? No matter how
Yeah.
cool that costume is.
And
Yeah.
that's the ironic thing with The Last of Us, speaking of The Last of Us, is that, like I said, this show is written like a video game. And yet we have this other show, The Last of Us, that's adapted from a video game that feels more like a real show than this does.
Yeah. Trying not to sound like it is written like a video game.
We literally
Yeah.
get a hub world and side quests. You were right, Jacob. You get your
Yeah.
first town. Yeah. You go to the job
Yeah.
board, right?
This could just be the plot of a video game, and then you have to do your quests. Like, these are the cutscenes in between the quests.
Pretty much.
Which give me this video game. Let
Yeah,
me be Din
I would
Djarin
play it.
and run around. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like the
Bulletproof armor.
Be in Fortnite.
Flying.
what was the
shooting people with my gun that turns you into smoke.
well, you had the Jango Fett bounty hunter. Yeah, let me disintegrate, bro. let's walk this line before we get out of here. If
Yeah.
anybody's familiar, right, with the Clone Wars shows or any of the ancillary materials, right? Is there any fan service stuff? Because we think they're going to go there, but is there anything
Oh, sure.
from that, whether it's a flashback to a cool moment that we've already seen in the cartoons,
The
is there anything that excites you that they might attempt, Colin?
the whales are indicative of this boy of bringing back a very beloved character of a certain franchise. I don't know why, again, they would choose The Mandalorian season 3 to be the springboard of that, unless this is just a hint, and then Ahsoka would sort of take that baton and sort of go with it. I'm excited for that, of course.
Mhm.
That would be a very interesting shakeup to the world of Star Wars, quote unquote.
Yeah.
I've said quote unquote 5,000 times. We're talking about the dumbest mythology in the world, Star Wars. I have to. It's all fake.
That's what we're saying at this point. Yeah, but
Yeah.
Jacob, is there anything from that extended universe you're kind of familiar with that might be cool?
Well, I think if they really need to like break the glass in case of emergency, Darth Maul. We've seen him
Yes.
in Solo.
Yes.
I don't know if we've ever seen him past the original series in the timeline. I don't know if he's still alive or what he would be doing at this point, but you can always bring in old Darth Maul.
Well, the other thing too is you
Wow.
could do flashbacks where Bo-Katan is recounting the history, and this is what
Right.
I was thinking because Darth Maul. Spoilers for Clone Wars if you haven't seen it; it's an old show, but Darth Maul famously kills the leader of Mandalore when they're a republic. They've stopped doing war
Oh.
stuff. He kills the
Yeah.
leader of Mandalore, who is Obi-Wan Kenobi's girlfriend-ish,
The Queen, right? The
in
Queen
front of
Mandalore.
him, the Queen of Mandalore, and then
Oh, is
Yeah.
she the mom of Bo-Katan?
or those sister or something. Yeah, I think it's her
Okay,
sister.
or the aunt or something.
Yeah, so that's a big moment, and then Obi-Wan and Darth Maul have a big fight. Darth Maul has the
Yeah.
dark saber, so like you could have Ewan McGregor and Ray Park back at it again. I think the fans
Right.
would go crazy. It's fan service as hell, but
Yeah.
I'm kind of here for it if they're
But
going
like
to do
Darth
that.
Maul
Yeah,
would
That'd
be
be cool.
pretty old by this time.
He's
If
got
he
robot
like
legs.
he didn't die or anything in the Clone Wars to my
No.
recollection. So and he
I
was
think
still
Ray
alive in the
Park's pretty
Solo,
old at this
obviously.
point. So
He
shouldn't
dies
be
at
an
some
issue.
point in Tatooine with old Obi-Wan, defeats him
Yes,
in
I
a duel
remember
in the
that
desert.
fight from Rebels.
Oh,
So he
yes,
might be
you're right.
dead now, but you have all the Mandalore history to flashback with what
And
happened
also,
here in that very
he's died
throne
that's
before
room.
and you brought him back. So
Mhm.
you could always
Oh,
bring him back.
Mike, you're 100% right, of course, because again, it's all post Return of the Jedi.
And they've got the set. They have the set for the throne room. That's where all that stuff goes down. It's the exact room
Yeah.
where the Darth Maul fight,
And he
the
had
murder of.
robot like
legs.
spider robot legs at one point. He has
Watch
a
a YouTube
brother
video
that's
on
like
that.
a green Darth Maul. Yeah.
His name's Darth Savage, which is
Yeah.
savage, just spelled like savage. And they fight Palpatine on Mandalore. It's crazy. You could do a lot of fan service stuff, but the main one that I'm looking for, besides that, is I think they're going to start introducing the idea of the world between worlds, which is a end of Rebels thing. It's
Right.
like a dimension
Right.
between dimensions, at which point they're fucking
where
with the multiverse
Ahsoka
so hard. Yeah, who knows
was
what
in
happens
there.
there.
Yeah.
Where we last saw her.
And just bring in the Rebels cast in Ezra Bridger, I
Mhm.
guess. What's he up to? He's another
Kanan, I don't think is
Jedi
around
that sort
anymore.
of survived the Order 66 and everything. And
Did he know the Jedi Order kid? Could he show up? You know, shameless.
Yeah.
We love him.
sure.
Just it's getting
That would
crazy
bring him
now.
That would be. Have you guys played
Cal
my video
Kestis will
game?
be in a show.
Whoa!
He's gonna
Cal
show up.
Kestis, what are
He
you
should.
doing here?
Yeah, he should.
Just
He's
be.
going
dropping
to.
off copies of Jedi Fallen Order.
Yep. Pre-order now.
$69.99 on the Xbox Game Store.
Uh-huh.
Or
What?
Jedi
That's
Fallen,
so much money, Cal Kestis.
What's the new
Jedi
one
pre-order.
Jedi pre-order.
Called? Jedi
Yeah.
pre-order.
The sequel to Fallen Order. It's
Yeah,
whatever.
That's
but
coming soon.
I would be so mad if I was him. It's like you guys are doing all these shows. I'm a real actor. Just let me have.
And he
let me
literally
have
looks
it.
Can't
like
get
they modeled his
one-
character after that actor, so they easily could
one
have him in live
episode.
action.
Yeah, put me in there. They will at some point in the next
Watch me
3
do
years.
a real lightsaber fight. Come on.
Yeah, let him
bring
do
that
it.
little BD-88 or whatever that robot.
BD09. whatever
Yeah.
his name is, yeah.
I still want B2 Emo to show up. I like that sad guy
Yes.
from Andor.
Yes,
But
yes.
Yeah.
I guess that's pretty much
Oh, never mind.
speculation. We have one episode in the can. Maybe we'll talk a finale of timing. Don't
Yeah.
no promises. But it's a Disney
You'll
property,
he-
so we were legally required.
That's right. You'll hear on a watch some of us being like, well, can you believe how Mando season 3 turned out? Or
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. There could be some shocking newsworthy, they take up the blogosphere or the pop culture, where 2 episodes from now we're like, yeah, the Last of Us finale was crazy, but can you believe Jabba the Hutt shows
Sure.
up in his own Mandalorian armor and he's like
Mm.
shooting people?
Hell yeah.
Pew, pew, pew.
Yeah, they need something
Ah.
really buzzworthy in this
Yes.
show that no one's expecting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, all you need to know about the show right now is that I'm more invested in Picard season 3 than I am
Blows
of
my
the
mind.
Mandalorian season 3. If you know how I feel the first 2 seasons of Picard, you know that's crazy to even suggest, but that's where we're
Yeah.
at now.
It's wild. Saturation is peak, and a lot of the stuff that's Disney owned has a certain flavor. That's using your
Yeah.
head. Like there's a certain, and it's Jon
Right.
Favreau too. And he's got a certain style. I
And
think
Dave
Dave Filoni's
Filoni.
focusing on Dave Filoni's focusing on the Ahsoka stuff, right?
I think
Right,
he's
right.
show running that, yeah.
Yeah. So this is more Favreau.
But it
And
feels like their kind of styles are similar to where like they kind of they're the 2 people right now that are overseeing the Star Wars world in the streaming series, other
Feeding
than
the
Andor,
serpent.
which has a very different kind of feel.
Yeah, and they're heavily focusing on those animated shows and that pocket of the universe, that corner of the universe, which has explored a lot of the history of Mandalore and this and that. So, yeah, I just expect more of that going forward. This is the way.
Yeah, this is the
Seems
way.
like it's the
Mhm.
way it's all headed. Give us your thoughts and opinions, of course. Hit us up at normies_like_us, where you can write in and say, hey, Grogu's my favorite character. Don't you talk about my special little guy that way. And we'll
You say
say,
so.
yeah, hey, we've all got Grogu dolls that we hug while we sleep at
Yeah.
night too. Like we
Mhm.
get it.
If I
You
don't
can check
get
us out
enough
on
sleep, I'm
YouTube.
Grogu in the morning. Little Grogu. Sorry.
Why, Mike? What was the word?
I can't resist it. The intrusive thoughts always win.
But we'll be back next week with some more episodes. Of course, always hit us up at those socials with episode suggestions, recommendations, whatever you want to hear us talk about. We are totally open to that stuff. Otherwise, we'll be talking about some good stuff down the line. And of course, at the end of this month, because we are in a new month here, happy March, everyone. We'll be talking Star Trek again, as we are obligated to do.
Hell yeah.
Mhm.
Hell
Yes.
yeah.
We're going to
So goodbye,
insurrect.
Wars. Trek. We'll see you soon.
If Picard season 3 ends up good, we might be talking
I-
double the Trek
you
this
might have
month.
to do
Who
an
knows?
emergency
You
episode.
guys might be tricking me into that. I
Oh,
would watch it
jeez.
before Andor, just season 3. Let me tell you.
Yeah, we
So,
want to trick you into watching a bad Picard
Wow.
show, but you will not willingly watch a good Andor. That's how
Yes,
bad
that's-
Star Wars has
Yeah,
made
you
you
need to
feel.
watch
yeah.
Andor.
Yes,
And you
Mhm.
don't need to
true.
watch the first 2 seasons. You can just jump into season 3 of Picard. And
Fantastic.
since
That's
you're
the
into the
best part.
movies, First Contact and all that, like it's a perfect lead in. So I
It
think you'll
feels
like
like a
it.
sequel to the
Well,
movies,
but
but
hold on,
that's yeah.
Jacob. What will I see my favorite character, the Borg Queen? Well, no, sorry, we can't talk.
You got to
about
watch
this.
If you
season
watch
2 for
season
that.
2, yeah.
If you want the Borg Queen, you get her. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's neither here nor there.
Neither here nor there. Neither are we. So again, this has been The Way, and we are your hosts. This is Grand Magistrate Colin.
Maiku Freak. Hey.
Hey.
This is Bo Jacob, the rightful ruler of Mandalore.
I'll
All
put down
right.
that dark saber. Oh no! Ah!
Yeah, hey, no squeeze. Bad baby. Bye.
Bye.